Esther today avails us another opportunity to talk about an important accountability tool in the fight against corruption. Hello and welcome to Public Conscience, the anti-corruption program produced by the Progressive Impact Organization for Community Development, PRIMOG. I am Adaobi Obiabomo with my colleague Esther Bassi.
Thanks for joining us.
On Public Conscience, we seek to evolve a corruption-free society by drawing government and citizens' attention to corruption reports and issues for prompt democratic actions against them. We also promote integrity by amplifying the rare cases of the display of honesty by public and private individuals. We appreciate the MacArthur Foundation for supporting the production of this program.
Today, our focus is on the underutilization of whistleblowing in Nigeria, which is an important tool in the prevention and detection of corruption. Recall the immediate past president, Muhammadu Buhari, initiated the whistleblower policy in 2016.
All efforts to strengthen the whistleblower policy with a legislation during the 9th Assembly failed to materialize. President TIinubu's administration is now presented with a golden opportunity to fortify whistleblowing and fight corruption.
If the government wants to improve the anti-corruption fight, then it's got to hit the ground running by immediately taking the needed actions to get the whistleblower bill back to the National Assembly.
According to a 2021 survey conducted by the African Center for Media and Information Literacy, AfricMail, and published by the International Center for Investigative Reporting, ICIR, majority of Nigerians perceive corruption as a major problem. But a lot of people are unwilling to report any form of corruption.
The survey also stated that a good number of Nigerians have stopped reporting cases of looted funds due to fear of victimization, believing that authorities do not provide proper channels to make the reports or take action against the suspects.
How sad, if you would ask me. Today's program will interrogate the shortcomings of the whistleblowing policy and the need for the TIinubu administration to maximize the full potential of whistleblowing in Nigeria's anti-corruption fight, especially by ensuring the protection of whistleblowers and legislation of whistleblowing.
For us at PRIMOG, we are concerned that citizens are shying away from reporting corruption, and we think President TIinubu's government should be more worried.
But the big question is, what is the federal government's plan of strengthening whistleblowing in Nigeria? Do they believe in it? What must the TIinubu's administration do to resuscitate the whistleblowing policy that is said to be nearing the state of comatose? And as a citizen, you and I, do you have fears blowing the whistle against corruption, and why? And how do you foresee the future of whistleblowing in Nigeria?
So many questions left to be answered. Be ready to join us through phone and text messages during this conversation. The WhatsApp phone line to send your message is 09022656167. That is 09022656167. Please indicate your name and your location when sending your message. This number is for messages only.
Please begin to send your messages as soon as possible to 0902-265-6167. We will give out the numbers to call shortly.
If you just joined us, we are looking at the need for President TIinubu's administration to take full advantage of the potential of whistleblowing in the fight against corruption in Nigeria. Recall that former Minister of Finance Zainab Ahmed had alluded that the whistleblower policy had lost momentum due to fears safety early in the year. The anxiety is that Nigeria, Africa's most populous nation, may be sinking deeper into the mire of corruption if care is not taken.
Unfortunately, but joining us in the studio to set the agenda for President TIinubu and the 10th Assembly on strengthening the anti-corruption fight using whistleblowing is a senior investigative journalist with the International Center for Investigative Reporting, ICIR, Olubenga Adaniki. You're welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And also in the studio, we'll have the program manager at African Center for Media and Information Literacy, AfricMail, Godwin Onyacholim. You're welcome to today's episode.
Thank you.
Okay, let's start off the conversation first with Adeniki. The investigation, that is the one published by your organization, ICIR, focused on the actions and inactions compromising whistleblowing in Nigeria. Could you give us some highlights of your findings?
Okay, thank you once again. It's truly a privilege to also attend this very program. The ICR has actually been at the forefront investigating cases that has to do with corruption and other related issues of public interest, but with special attention to this very topic. So yes, ICR has been able to document multiple cases of whistleblowers who eventually became victims. Okay, some almost lost their jobs, some lost their jobs. They had to go to the courts to appeal their cases and all of that. Some had to travel from southern part of the country to Abuja all to defend their cases and all of that. Some will even risk their life taking night buses. Okay, virtually twice in a month. You can imagine that. So and again, we also discovered that those who actually blow the whistle don't have adequate protection, and to a very large extent this has kind of discouraged so many others. I can tell you that not all public officials are corrupt, really. There are some that are very much interested in ensuring that things go right, okay? And these are the people, or these are the set of people that often provide this kind of information to journalists and then to other relevant organizations and graft agencies in order to ensure that things are done right. But the truth is, the pace has actually dropped. When you know that your life is not secured, your source of livelihood is not secured, and then you also have a family, you have responsibilities to pay. So with that, it's actually discouraging to most of them. So those were the things our reports unveiled. Multiple victims were able to document their stories. Even those that have retired, we were still able to reach out to them. And those that were retired even told us that, well, they won't even advise anybody to blow the whistle.
So these retaliations or reprisals that you've mentioned, did they come from the employer or employees themselves?
Well, it actually largely came from the employees. Okay, it came from the employees because, of course, you know that the employers in most cases wouldn't want such thing to be in the public space. There is a kind of guideline, is the public service rule, okay, that prevents government officials from divulging information. They have, I think it's more like oath of secrecy or something within the public service. So they have their internal system of checkmating some of these issues. So they still believe that as a public servant, you are expected to work within that framework and not go ahead and blow the whistle.
So what happens in a situation where a public servant reports that is using the internal mechanism and nothing happens?
Exactly, that has always been the problem. The public servants, the public service as it is, has a bureaucratic process, of doing things. And then along the chain, a particular director that is close to the person who had been indicted might decide to frustrate the entire exercise, and then before you know it, whatever investigation that is being done might not even see the light of the day. We have such cases, except in few cases, just like the case of the one we reported, the Federal Ministry of Works and Housing, which eventually caught the attention of the Parliament, and the Public Service Commission eventually called for the sack of those who were allegedly brought in through the back door. So it's actually on rare cases. Even the person who blew the whistle is still being victimized somehow. At some point, he was transferred out of Abuja, out of the headquarters to a far remote location. So these are the things. But I just believe that it's only a legal framework that can help this. So far, whistleblowers are assured that once they blow the whistle, their job is secured, their lives and properties are secured. Honestly, it will be a motivating factor okay, and then to propel other persons, other good-hearted Nigerians to blow the whistle, and at the long run, it helps the country.
Okay, thank you for that. Let's shift to Godwin
Godwin
Onyachole.
Okay, so up until the dying moment of the that's the Ninth Assembly, AfricMail kept pushing for whistleblower legislation. What have been the shortcomings of the whistleblower policy, and why do we need a legislation?
Well, thank you. What is the shortcoming really? The key shortcoming of that policy is the absence of a law to back it up. Once you have a law, then people will have confidence to say that, once they make disclosures, if there is a reprisal, if there is a form of punishment, there is a framework to protect them. But in a situation of a lapse in a law to protect you, you don't have that. It's a disincentive. It doesn't encourage anyone to come out to report. So, like you said, up until Buhari left, we are still hoping that this will happen, because there is actually a draft bill already, a draft which has been approved by the Federal Executive Council. That draft bill has the input of civil society, AfricMail, Primorg, CDD. We were about 6 or 7 civil society groups. They took us to the Federal Ministry of Finance, actually took this CSO group that I just mentioned now to Lafia to do review various whistleblower laws, and then come up with so a particular document that addresses protection for whistleblowers. So we did all that, and then it went back and forth, Ministry of Justice, Ministry of eventually it was perfected at the Ministry of Justice, and then sent back to the Federal Ministry of Finance, which now tabled it before the FEC. So FEC approved it in December last year, and says, okay, this is good. That FEC meeting was presided over by the Vice President, Professor Yemi Oshibaju. So, and then they approved it, and then, so we are looking forward to hear that this thing has been sent to the National Assembly, for them to look at it and say, we'll pass this. So up until that moment, we kept monitoring, and then we... at one point, we learned that the thing has been moved from the presidency to the National Assembly, and then we were hoping that, this will come, and then it will be sent back to the president, and then it will be passed. So, but then it never happened. So, and it was, that was really, really sad. I was really unfortunate, because you expect that the government that introduced that very important policy that is, expected to be one of the strategies to checkmate corruption. You expect that a government that introduced that would have, immediately, since 2016, would have immediately say, okay, let us back it up with our own bills, protection bill, but it never did that. So it was just like as if the will to really fight corruption wasn't there. Let's just do it for the sake of doing it, kind of. So and that was what happened, and then if with the new government in place now, if they go ahead eventually to pass a whistleblower law, they take the credit.
Why do we really need this legislation?
Yeah, you need the legislation because if people know that they blow the whistle and they are not protected, it will not ever encourage others to want to, because there are all kinds of, you mentioned it, people are being sacked. People are being, suspended. People's salaries are being withheld. You may not even be suspended from work, but one big boss who sees that, he has power over everything, will say, okay, stop paying him. So things like that. And they have, as is also mentioned, you have guys who are in court, pursuing their cases. Just because there is no law to say that, if this happens, this is what happens. So there's no people are afraid to say that whistleblowers fear 2 things. One, that there will be reprisals. The people who were reported will somehow come back at them. They mentioned somebody who was Ministry of Works. I mean, they may not even, it may not be in any violent form or anything, but it could just be something as, you say something as harmless as punitive posting, like take you off from Abuja here to Gwagwalada or to Kuje, that kind of thing. So those kind of punishments do occur. So, and a lot of people are going through things like, so that's the reason you really need a law, to protect people.
You're certain that when this law eventually is passed,
no, I'm not
but you understand that
it's not going to be silver bullet. The law is a silver bullet, but it sort of gives you encouragement to say at least there is a law. Then you too, you can say, based on this, you can, even hire a lawyer to say you go to court because you deserve protection based on this law. But on what basis do you deserve protection now? It's just a policy. There's nothing to hang on to.
We understand that once an assembly is dissolved, the lifespan of the bills before it dies or comes to an end. So what is the possibility or the way forward to ensure and encourage and advocate that the 9th Assembly takes this whistleblowing, the 10th Assembly, sorry to say, takes this seriously?
Okay, so what we've learned so far with regard to this whistleblowing bill is that the Federal Ministry of Finance is trying to send it back to, is trying to get in touch with the Chief of Staff to the President, who used to be the Speaker of the House of Reps, to say this is what we have, this is what we intended to do last year. So can you please, write a memo, send a memo to the President based on this so that we can get this law passed at the... So that's what the Federal Ministry of Finance, they are trying to see how they can get the Chief of Staff to the President to wade into this matter to ensure that. So that's what they are working on.
Will it still go through the process of passing a bill into law from first reading and all of those, or would there be like an emergency sitting?
So we don't
and
know,
just approve first, second reading. And
so
all
we
of
don't
that?
know. We don't know what they are. We don't know what they are looking at really. But what they have in mind, is to just, not to go through the whole, process of first reading, second reading again, because it will take some time again, and you never know what will happen. So what they just have in mind is to get the president to pass this bill into law. But how that will happen, I don't know. Especially when you have a government that is showing you the signs that they are not they are not up to questioning anybody in terms of wrongdoing and things like that. The signs we are seeing, at least that's what we haven't seen that, because if you look at throughout the campaigns of the president and even in his inaugural speech, the mention of fighting corruption is vague. You don't really see that in the agenda, in the
but he may just
agenda.
surprise us, because the last president was vocal. He mentioned it in his campaign promises, and what did we see? Did we get the law? It could just, maybe there's flip side, maybe this current administration not mention it, he may act.
Yeah, well, anyway, let's see. But the morning tells the day anyway. But you mentioned Buhari now, and then you expect that somebody who is really out to do this kind of thing will have. It's, to be honest, it's not something that is really encourages one when you see this kind of thing happening, and then you expect that. Somebody comes in, and then there was this, just before you came in, there was this thing going on, this racketeering going on in the Ministry of Aviation, at the Sirika. So by now you expect the government that is really serious about to have, brought all those people back and start asking questions. But questions are not. So Nigeria has no time to waste. This country is owing about, close to 80 trillion naira, and you need a lot of money now. No government needs more money than this administration now. And this can only be got through, because, like Falana also said, there are a lot of ways that Nigeria can get money without even saying that you want to borrow from anybody. Different places, people who...
So we need to block the leakages.
And one of the ways you block it is to encourage people to make disclosures, to report, to say this is what is happening here, this is what is happening, and then you act. It's not just a question of reporting and then, being aware of the disclosures. You also have to act, because one of the things that also discourages whistleblowing is that people against whom those whistles are blown are not being punished. You see that people who you have reported somebody and you see that the life is normal for the person, there is no kind of punishments, and then you are discouraged to really want to say you want to make reports.
All right, thank you for that. Let's shift to
Adanike. Let's take a look at your report. What can you tell us about a whistleblower mentioned in your report who had to face persecution and intimidation at the Federal Ministry of Works and Housing for raising the alarm over illegal recruitment?
So, I think I stylishly made reference to one or two things during my first opportunity to speak on the issue. So, it's really been a difficult time, for the public servants. I can only imagine the kind of victimization, they will be facing. Interestingly, he also had to hire a lawyer. How much is the minimum wage? He must be living in Abuja, I guess, and he has bills to pay, accommodation and all. He still had to hire a lawyer, to plead his case, just to stand for him and all that. Yet, all of those things are still there. He's still being victimized. Yes, we are still on the issue. In fact, we've written freedom of information request to the Federal Ministry of Works, Housing. We've also written to the Public Service Commission, the agency responsible for employing civil servants. Exactly. So, Civil Service Commission. So, in order to establish whether or not these guys he blew the whistle against are still in service or not. And then we are also working to ensure that some of those persons, we've been doing our independent findings, to also ensure that some of those persons found guilty are brought before the public, so that the public can identify that these are the people who are actually bringing, collecting money from Nigerians and then bringing them to the civil service through the back door, So it's not today. We've heard of several cases of people who had to pay as high as 400,000, 500,000 to get a job, and then eventually you now realize that the job you got was actually a scam. So we are still on it. He also believed that probably we are not doing enough. But the thing is, investigation is not something you jump at. You have to take your time, because if not, they will come after you and sue you for defamation and sue you for.
So you need to get your facts
exactly
right.
Some frivolous law cases that can even shut down your organization if care is not taken. So we are trying to make sure that we will get the right documents, like the FY I spoke about. Whatever comes from the Civil Service Commission, whatever comes from the Federal Ministry of Works, it's believed to be an official document. So even if you take us to court, we'll bring those documents and say we got this from official sources, and then so that's the current situation we have.
All right, thank you. We would keep monitoring the events and ensure that the whistleblower gets the needed attention and protection that he needs. Thank you for that. Esther, it's time for us to get the person listening at the other end of the dial to join the conversation.
Okay, for you out there, please follow us on our social media platforms at @officialprimorg. The spelling of Primorg is PRIMORG.
And remember that the program is interactive. The WhatsApp phone number to send your message to is 0902-265-6167. That is 0902-265-6167. This number is for messages only, and would like you to contribute to the conversation. How can this current administration, that's the TIinubu's administration, utilize whistleblowing to fight corruption? And what are those factors that you think can hinder the president's administration and the 10th Assembly from getting the country whistleblower law that it requires? And as a citizen, what are your fears of blowing the whistle against corruption? And how can you and I, as citizens, also assist or encourage the new administration in the fight against corruption? We have a message from Comrade Ibrahim Kirfi from Kefi, and it says, first, TIinubu's government has started on a very good footing by making an all-encompassing decisions on appointments as well as sacking the board of MDAs. The fear that previous whistleblowers neither got the money nor their freedom of movement will make it difficult to have genuine ones coming out for whistleblowing on concerning any issues. He also went further to say that there should be a secret agency under the presidency for monitoring all anti-corruption agencies like EFCC, ICPC, Code of Conduct Bureau. Thank you so much for that. Hello. You make your contribution.
Okay. Yeah, my name is Frank.
Frank, go ahead.
Yeah. I really appreciate with this conversation. But I want to contribute on this issue is that I personally am passing through pain, not the pain. I'm passing through this about the whistleblower. I'm part of the whistleblower person that getting a lot of mobilization now. They went to my house. There was the time I went to your office, the Bible. But I went to your office, but there was no response. I went to the whistleblower office, no response. Now what I'm passing through is that I blow a whistle whereby I had the government of Buhari to recover a huge amount of money. They went to my house and opened my house. I'm going to work with my team. And I'm not my job, I've lost my job up to now, almost 8 years now. And my daughter died based on property. I don't have anything to show. Now I'm passing through, I'm not healthy. I'm having a liver problem. My eyes are always going blind now. Simply because of this whistleblower. They invited me for the this committee, go for witnessing. I went there, nothing covered. After all what I...
Okay, Frank, if you can hear me, we sincerely sympathize with you and what you're currently going through. I would call out our number again, so please take the number so we can continue the conversation. Okay, Frank, and any other person listening to me, the numbers again to call are 090 30,000 899. But for your message, kindly send it to 090 22 65 6167. 090 22 65 6167. Your name and where you're calling us from, please.
Okay, my name is SSC. I'm calling you from Asubo.
Okay, please go ahead. What are your fears of blowing the whistle?
I sympathize with our brother who called. I just ask that God will intervene in the situation. You see, honestly, the issue of whistleblowing in Nigeria is I don't want to discourage anybody. Nigeria is our country, and whatever we want to do to make it good or put it right, I think is everybody's responsibility. But at some point, the government is not doing anything to protect the citizens. How can you bring out a policy and then you cannot back it up? Like this our brother who just called in now. You can imagine, how do they even get to know his identity? A whistleblower is supposed to be protected. So I, for one, like myself, I tell you the truth, it's not a thing I cannot involve my
Oh, we lost that call there, but thank you so much for your contribution. Godwin, he mentioned something that is very vital in the course of whistleblowing, which is confidentiality of the whistleblower and confidentiality of the disclosure. Let me take this call before I get back to you. Hello?
Yes, I got my sorry. I was protected, not that I'm not protected, but after giving all the information in the villa, after giving all the information, they now push me out because that was a commando that is held now. But when he was standing on me, after the death of that commando, that's where everybody, whoever was one of the committee, yes, that was the best of the committee, make them give him chairman of EFCC.
Okay, Frank, if you...
That's the committee.
Okay.
I don't know how you people can get my information, how you people, but when I get back, because I'm right now somewhere else, but when I get back, maybe I'll beg one of my brothers to send my document, my complaint document to this particular number that you call.
Okay. Thank you so much, Frank, for your contribution. The number again to call or to reach us via WhatsApp is 0902 265 6167. 0902 265 6167. Hello.
Hello, my sister.
Good morning, sir.
Is talking about.
Okay, you have 1 minute to conclude on your thoughts, sir. Thank you.
Okay. I don't think that my brother understands what I'm doing. It's not protected. If it's protected, how comes they bubble his house? How do they get to know he's the one that gave the information? So me for one, like in conclusion, anybody who wants to take the risk of becoming a whistleblower should first of all have to make sure that he has made up his mind that whatever comes out of it, he will take it. Because a whistleblower in Nigeria is as somebody that is sitting on gunpowder. His life is not safe, and also anything can happen to him. Except the government put every necessary thing in place to protect and to make sure that the whistleblower is being encouraged and also get what is due for them and secure and protect their life and family.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your contribution. Godwin, again, is the issue of confidentiality of the whistleblower and the disclosure. Do you think that multiple disclosures should be discouraged because it further exposes the whistleblower? But a whistleblower who is also faced with a situation where he has blown the whistle and nothing happens, what should he do?
Usually in an organization, before somebody makes there are two types of disclosures: internal disclosure, internal whistleblowing, and external whistleblowing. Usually before you hear that somebody has reported to EFCC or ICPC, he would have tried to ensure that that matter is addressed within the organization. You must have maybe through different systems, through the various mechanisms in place, maybe they have an anti-corruption transparency unit kind of.
That's Act 2.
Yeah. So he must have tried to make to see that that problem he identified is addressed. So it is when this thing is not addressed internally that people say, okay, let's send a petition to EFCC, ICPC. Like, I'll make an example of the case of the gentleman in Federal Ministry of Finance. He exhausted all various, up to the highest level, to report that people are being illegally recruited in this organization, and these are the facts. But nothing happened.
Is it Ministry of Finance or Works?
No, Works. Yeah. So that, I mean, this thing is going on, and up to the highest level, he exhausted that, and nothing happened. That was when he now said, okay, let's do external whistleblowing, and then he petitioned ICPC. So,
don't you think that would further expose the person?
Yeah, and even at that level, you are expected to, if at the level of your organization, your bosses are not able to protect you, then it's really sad. But at the level of external whistleblowing, if you have made reports to EFCC, ICPC, your report, your identity should be fully protected. You should be assured that no disclosures. But when you try to make reports in your organization and then you have a boss who pretends to have listened to you, but he's not interested in what you brought, he might go behind you and start telling people that look at what this, it happens. But we need a strong mechanism, internal whistleblowing system where people can have confidence and then make their disclosures reports, and then they can be fully protected. Not the situation where people just make reports and then this one hears it. It got to a point when this same whistleblower we are talking about in the Federal Ministry of Works, the people who were threatening him, the people who were even threatening him were colleagues, staff. Some of the people who were employed illegally. Yes, some of the people who, apart from the employer, also. Some of the colleagues, to say, I'm a bolo for why are you, that kind of thing. So colleagues who are saying that,
Ringa, you're smiling.
So this kind of person is even in our midst, So organizations don't know that those are the kind of people you need, because the whistleblowers prevent reputational damage. They prevent harm before it happens, so things like that. But people you see them and then they try to correct things and you say, why is this one? What is he doing that? But those are the kind of people organizations need.
But like you said, maybe their colleagues really do not understand the importance of whistleblowing.
Well, the whistleblowing addresses wrongdoing.
Or maybe they just want to benefit from
it stems from this corrupt mind, corrupt attitude that like you said, we can do this and people are recruited illegally, like that, and then they don't see that it's something wrong. They don't see it as a big. They think it's normal now. That's why
has corruption become normal.
Yes, that's why at any fora where they are discussing corruption, you usually see few people. People don't really, because it's not a subject that interests people. People don't want to discuss it. Let me have my opportunity and also benefit. That's what people, even at the top level. That's why the whistleblowing protection law has not been passed up till today. Because otherwise, we've had. Since when have we been having programs bringing members of the National Assembly who here they have said it that this thing is not a big deal. If this assembly, the ninth assembly, if they wanted the bill passed within 2 days, they can do it. But people are not interested in something that want to say you want to start making reports about them. For you to ordinarily say you are putting out their pay slip in public, they are angry. They are saying, why should people know how much we are earning? So those are the people we are now begging. We are begging them to say, please pass this bill. But it doesn't. They are not interested.
Okay. Thank you so much, Godwin.
All right. So let's have Daniki tell us about the compromise between journalists and security officials, as contained in his report, on how this behavior affects whistleblowing.
Okay. Before you respond, let's take this call. Hello. Your name and where you're calling us from, please.
My name is Isa. I'm calling you from airport.
Isa, let's hear you. Do you have fears when it comes to whistleblowing?
Yes, those are one of the callers just said now. We don't have a government that can protect anybody in this country. But the truth here is that because we are in the system where if you want to expose corruption, you will be the next person for target. What happens for where I work is that the people I will work together, they will went to the station to buy fuel. They will be going with jerrycan, going collecting money in the fuel station. And when they come, the auditor come here and say, this is don't do this, so it's not good. When you are trying to tell them, this is not good, you are teaching the company what the company is telling you. What about the company run down? And you are expecting salary the same company. You will be the person who will begin to target you. Every day, what's your problem? You give your money, give your time. And that is how our system is collapsed every day. They should help us and do something about this policy.
Thank you so much, Issa, for your valid contribution. Cheating your organization and cheating yourself in the process.
All right, so Adenike.
Yeah, thank you very much. The issue of journalists not protecting their sources, and then the issue of anti-graft agencies allegedly exposing whistleblowers in the process of carrying out their investigation. It's really a big issue, I must tell you. First, as part of on the part of the journalist, it's an ethical issue. You are not expected to disclose your source, irrespective of anything. In fact, there's a popular saying that a journalist is as good as his source. So, which means that the more sources you have, the more credible, fantastic stories you get to write. But if you don't have good sources or your sources don't trust you, that means your career is coming to an end anytime soon. So it simply means that journalists needs to do more by protecting their sources. If they have the opportunity of getting a confidential information, they should even keep the information from their family or friends, or they shouldn't, if they are the type that visit parties or go to bars and all that, those shouldn't be the center of conversation or discussion with your colleagues. So and as for the anti-graft agencies, I think they need to develop a new strategy, okay, that will ensure that the confidentiality of whistleblowers, is protected. Because in the process of you executing your investigation, if you by mistake disclose the identity of a whistleblower, then you make him vulnerable to attack and all forms of victimization. So we only have two major anti-graft agencies in Nigeria, which is the ICPC and then the EFCC. So I want to believe that they can also come up with this brilliant initiative of having a covert kind of operation, secret operation. They can even partner with the DSS. We have DSS across 774 local governments in the country. They can partner with them, and then they can help with that covert operation. Once the DSS is done with DS, they can report to the ICPC. Then ICPC takes it over instead of unveiling or disclosing the identity of a whistleblower.
All right, thank you so much. We have a message from Abdul Wahab Suleiman Okene from Pape, and he said, "My advice to the society is that no one or individual needs to be victimized. Government needs to have a design for an organization that will be doing their work to prevent the disastrous harm to humanity, like the man who called in." Thank you so much, Abdul Wahab, for your contribution. Esther, as we begin to wrap up, let's speak with Godwin Onyacholem.
All right, so Godwin, question. This question actually be going on my mind. I don't know, is the policy just for government owned, like the MDA's Ministry, Department and Agency, or is the private sector included in this policy?
No,
for whistleblowing.
Okay, it's just for the government agencies. This policy is actually designed to make public servants report their bosses who have stolen public funds and hidden them somewhere. That's just what the policy is. It's about, so we are now saying that whistleblowing should be just beyond something financial. It should cover all wrongdoing, so whether it's human rights violation, whether it's environmental degradation, whether all kinds of wrongdoing, and it should extend beyond the public sector. It should also be, so that's why we are saying that, and that's why we are calling for the law. The law will not say that this is public sector. No, the law will cover the society, whether you are public sector, whether you are private sector or anything. So that's why we are calling for, but the policy as it is now is strictly for MDAs, government generating, revenue generating agencies and things like that. So, but when you have a law now, it covers the whole society.
Okay, what would be your last word or advice to the 10th Assembly in 30 seconds?
Yeah, my first to this government, they should take the fight against corruption seriously. They should, strengthen it, deepen it by ensuring the passage of a whistleblower protection law, because this government needs whistleblowing. This government needs money, and it needs people to make reports. Without people, having confidence that they will be protected, they are not likely to, stick out their neck to say they want to make disclosures. So to the 10th Assembly, this whistleblowing law is long overdue. I think it started in the 7th Assembly,
All right,
Yeah.
thank you. Thank you for that, Godwin Onyachulim. Adani Kibinga, what would be your last word or advice to the person listening to you and to that journalist out there?
Okay, basically, I just advise Nigerian journalists to promote the ethics of the profession, to obey strictly, to the ethics of the job. Otherwise, our job is for the public interest, and then if we are not working to promote the public interest, that means we are working for our personal gain, which is not in alignment with our constitutional mandate.
All right, thank you so much for that. And you can watch our videos on Primark TV, our YouTube channel. Please subscribe to get reminders when we have a new post. We sincerely appreciate our guest, Senior Investigative Journalist with the International Center for Investigative Reporting, ICIR, Olubinga Adaniki, and the Program Manager at African Center for Media and Information Literacy, AfricMail, Godwin Onyachulim. Thank you both for joining us today.
Thank you.
Public Conscience has the support of the John D. and Catherine T. MacArthur Foundation, committed to building a more just, verdant, and peaceful world. Get more information about the foundation on its website, macfound.org.
Join us again here next week for another episode of Public Conscience. And remember to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Official Primark. I am Esther Bassi.
Remember that birth registration and birth certificates are free if your child is under 18. Help stop the corruption in birth registration and do not pay for birth certificates. Also remember that you can give us information or hint about corrupt acts through our phone at 0902 265 6167 or info@primorg.org. For us at Primorg, we urge the 10th Assembly and President Bola TIinubu led executive to ensure there is a legislation for whistleblowing in Nigeria. I am Adaobi Obiabumo. Stay safe.